Welcome to Biosphere UN. I'm DINI IZZATI, and tonight we bring you an urgent health story that could impact thousands of families around the world. In recent years, there has been growing concern about a rare but serious genetic disorder, Cori disease, also known as the glycogen storage disease type 3 or GSD3. It is a metabolic disorder first described in 1952 by Cori and Cori that can lead to a severe complication in children and adults, such as liver enlargement, muscle weakness, and a dangerous drops in blood sugar. Despite being a rare condition, its impact on affected families is significant, and early diagnosis is very critical for affected management. Tonight, we will take an in-depth look at Cori disease, its symptoms, and medical advancement being made to help those living with it. But first, let's explore the science behind this condition. What causes it and how can it affect our body? Let's delve into the details with our correspondents and experts.
Thank you, Dini. Cori disease, also known as glucagon storage disease type 3, is a genetic disorder that disturbs the body's ability to break down glucagon into glucose. Glucagon, a stored form of glucose, is crucial for providing energy when the body needs it most, such as during periods of fasting or physical activity. Normally, glucagon is stored in the liver and muscles, where it is broken down by an enzyme called glucagon debranching enzyme. This enzyme is responsible for processing the complex structure of glucagon and converting it to glucose. But in individuals with Cori disease, mutations in the AGL gene lead to the deficiency of this enzyme. As a result, glucagon accumulates in the liver, muscles, and sometimes the heart. But it is stored in an abnormal form called limidextrin, which cannot be broken down further to release glucose. This leads to a variety of symptoms, from hypoglycemia or dangerously low blood sugar levels, to liver dysfunction and muscle weakness. The disease is inherited in an autosomal recessive pattern, meaning both parents must carry the mutated copy of the AGL gene for the child to be affected. The condition is rare, but it is important for individuals and healthcare providers to be aware of its signs and symptoms to ensure early intervention and better outcomes.
Thank you, Mr. SHEN for the pathogenesis explanation. Let us move on to the next part about the risk factors of Cori disease. Mr. Gad, could you briefly explain how could we affected by this disease?
Good evening. As an autosomal recessive disorder, Cori disease is primarily inherited. A child is at risk if both parents carry the defective AGL gene. The primary risk factors for Cori disease is having both parents who carry the defective gene responsible for the condition. Since it is inherited in an autosomal recessive pattern, both parents must carry the genes for their child to be affected. Interestingly, certain populations, like North African Jewish communities, have a higher prevalence of the condition due to the genetic factors. This highlights the importance of understanding genetics predispositions and seeking genetics counseling when necessary. Thank you.
Cori disease is an inherited metabolic disorder, and while it may be rare, but the symptoms can be severe and life-changing for those affected. To discuss this in more detail, we are joined now by scientist AMANEENA, a leading expert in genetics metabolic disorder. Okay, Prof. From my information, glycogen storage disease type 3, also known as Cori disease, is often underdiagnosed, especially in its early stages. So, what are the common signs and symptoms that parents and doctors should be watch out for in children? And how can we distinguish this from the other common metabolic conditions?
Thank you, Dini. You are absolutely right. Cori disease can be difficult to diagnose because its symptoms overlap with other metabolic and genetic disorders. The most common early symptoms are hepatomegaly, or commonly known as enlarged liver, and also hypoglycemia, which is dangerously low blood sugar. In infants, these symptoms may first appear as irritability, lethargy, and poor feeding. Parents may notice their child becoming unusually weak or tired, especially after periods of fasting, such as overnight or after a meal. It's not uncommon for children to have frequent episodes of low blood sugar, which can lead to shakiness, sweating, fatigue, or even seizures in severe cases. As the child grows, muscle weakness becomes more pronounced, and muscle cramps and exercise intolerance may develop. Some children may also have delayed motor milestone due to muscle weakness. In fact, one of the major concerns in the long term is that individuals with Cori disease may have difficulty performing physical activities, including walking or climbing stairs. In some cases, as children approach adolescence or adulthood, the disease can lead to liver fibrosis or cirrhosis due to the continuous accumulation of abnormal glycogen in the liver. Cardiomyopathy, which is weakening of the heart muscle, can also develop, though it is less common.
That sounds incredibly challenging for families, Professor AMANEENA. Thank you for joining us tonight. So, from what we discussed earlier, a common question that arises is what diagnostic tests are used to confirm Cori disease, and how can doctor differentiate it from other similar conditions? To shed light on this matter, our reporter SARKUNAN will be speaking with Dr. Muhammad NAZMYZAL, a leading expert in genetics, metabolic disorders, and a professor at University Malaya Medical Center. Over to you, Mr. SARKUNAN.
Thank you, Dini. Dr. NAZMYZAL, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Could you start by explaining the diagnostic tests commonly used to confirm Cori disease and how doctors distinguish it from other metabolic conditions with similar symptoms?
The diagnosis of GMD type 3 begins with a clinical evaluation similar to other diseases and disorders. Doctors will look for symptoms like an enlarged liver, low blood sugar, and muscle weakness. Several tests are done to detect elevated liver enzymes and hyperlipidemia or high fat levels in the blood. Additionally, a liver and muscle biopsy or imaging can help to assess the presence of abnormal glycogen patterns and measure the activity of glycogen debranching enzyme. An enzyme assay can also confirm the deficiency of this enzyme, providing a definitive diagnosis. However, the best way to confirm the diagnosis is through genetic testing, where doctors can identify mutations in the AGL gene responsible for the condition.
Thank you, Dr. NAZMYZAL. Now that we have a better understanding of the diagnosis, so what treatment options are available for families affected by Cori disease? Now, we invited Dr. SHEAN, who specializes in genetic metabolic conditions and currently holds a faculty position at University Malaya Medical Center, where she conducts research and works closely with patients diagnosed with rare metabolic diseases like Cori disease.
Good evening. Currently, there is no cure for Cori disease, but with early diagnosis and proper management, individuals can lead relatively normal life. Treatment focuses on symptom management, primarily through dietary and lifestyle adjustment. The cornerstone of treatment is dietary management, which include frequent meals throughout the day to help stabilize blood glucose level. Complex carbohydrates like bread, pasta, and rice are essential because they provide a slow, steady release of glucose into the bloodstream. Uncooked cornstarch is also used, especially at bedtime, to prevent nighttime hypoglycemia. In several cases, particularly if muscle weakness is a concern, regular exercise and physical therapy are recommended to help maintain muscle strength. Monitoring blood glucose levels closely, especially during fasting periods or after exercise, is critical to prevent hypoglycemia. If liver function becomes severely compromised, a liver transplant may be considered, although this is usually a last resort option. Regular follow-up with a metabolic specialist is essential to adjust treatment plans as the patient needs change over time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shen, for that valuable information. It's clear that early intervention and careful management can make a significant difference in the lives of those with Cori disease. In conclusion, Cori disease is a complex and a rare disorder, but advancements in diagnosis and management have made it possible for individuals with the condition to live healthier lives. If you or a loved one is experiencing symptoms that could be related to this condition, we encourage you to seek professional medical advice and consider genetic testing. Back to you, Dini.
Thank you, Tim. That concludes our special report on Cori disease. We will continue to bring you updates on Cori disease and other important health stories. For more information, you can visit our website for resources on support and genetic counseling. Stay informed and take care of your health. Have a great evening.